The views and opinions expressed in this presentation are those of the producer and those appearing in the show and do not necessarily represent the views of DerryCam, the Town of Derry, or any of its staff or affiliates. Hi, I'm Anthony Henry. Welcome back to America's Ass. We're on episode 69. Pretty great number, I think, as we pointed out earlier. And I am continuing my little mini-series with the federal candidates. I had Chris Bright on 2 weeks ago. This past week, I had Dan Ennis on. And this week, I have Brian Cole on, who is running for CD1. Thank you for being here. Please introduce yourself.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm glad to be back. This is my second time on your show. Appreciate it.
You were a season 1 guest.
Yes, I was. Yeah. The first series.
Yeah.
So my name is Brian Cole. I'm a state representative out of Manchester. I was born in Concord. My father was a state trooper and a park ranger, so I grew up at Pawtuckaway State Park. So I went to Raymond High School, graduated from there. I went over to Southern New Hampshire University. I have my degree in economics and finance. I also have my degree in accounting. And then for my career, I owned a wholesale company in Manchester, so I have a big warehouse there. We did importing into the United States. We sold to retailers throughout the United States. Had that business for 25 years. I was fortunate enough to retire last year, and I can dedicate my full efforts to this run for CD1. So while I was there, I was able to employ local people, and I supported the local economy. I've been a New Hampshire guy my whole life. Yep.
Well, thank you for being here. And we'll get right into it. Still, I think the hottest topic in America right now is what happened to Charlie Kirk last week. Yeah. We did touch on that last week, but I wanted to touch on it again now that we are about a week, down to the hour, about a week since it happened.
I was in Washington when we found out. I was actually meeting with Congressman Ginta down in Washington, and we found out the news. It was awful. It was terrible.
Yeah, there's really been an energy, I think, in America, in our movement, that I don't think we felt in a long time.
Yeah, it's sad that something like that had to happen to make that happen, but I don't know, only 31 years old and 2 little kids. It's tragedy.
Yeah, and I really do think that what happened last week will be a turning point for America. Pun intended, kind of. But we're either going to go down a really dark path, or this was the end of the dark path. We can start moving on.
Yeah, it's energizing your generation. That's what's super important. You guys are getting involved and being active.
Yeah, I can proudly say that Pinkerton is hopefully, barring no interference from the Board of Trustees, going to be allowing the start of a Turning Point chapter.
Excellent.
And they have ordinarily never allowed any political clubs.
Huh.
So it will be great to see if that happens.
And you're going to be on that?
I will be a member of it, yes.
Excellent.
Hopefully.
Excellent. So you and I are going to be going to a vigil tonight at UNH, right?
Yeah, we will both be at a vigil for Charlie Kirk at UNH tonight. I imagine a lot of people will be there. I think this will be the most important vigil in New Hampshire. There's been a few vigils over the last week or so, many at the State House, many in Manchester and Portsmouth and such, but having one at UNH, I think, is the most important place to have one.
Well, that was his target audience, right?
It was.
So,
and he was supposed to be at Dartmouth this month.
was he really?
Later this month, I think, in 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll move on to your campaign. I know you set yourself apart from the other candidates in that you have a focus on what you want to do, certain legislation, certain issues that impact New Hampshire. So what are you going to do when you get to Congress?
Well, I have 3 main priorities. My biggest one, that seems to be getting the most traction everywhere I go, is I want to build Seabrook number 2. So they have what's called a micro-nuclear power plant. So what I want you to think about is a nuclear submarine. That's the size of the power plant that would be going next to Seabrook. It's about a third of the size. Now, Seabrook already has the nuclear material still there. The rods that are still in Seabrook are 95% effective. You know, you're going to be able to have power for the next 100 years. So I'd like to build a micronuclear power plant in Seabrook, and I also would like to build a micronuclear power plant up in Berlin, because Berlin's logging industry has been decimated. Their economy's kind of fallen apart up there. So if you have cheap energy, all those AI and tech companies will pursue the cheap energy. They'll move up into that Berlin area, and they'll help that economy out tremendously. So I actually met, when I was in Washington last week, I met with the Department of Energy, and they're all about it. We talked about Michigan. Michigan has the same setup that we have here in the state of New Hampshire, and they're going forward with their micronuclear power plant right now. So it was a $150 million investment from the state of Michigan, and the federal government kicked in $3.4 billion.
Why do you think the other side of the aisle is so hesitant toward nuclear?
I don't think they're hesitant. Everywhere I've gone, I have not gotten any negative feedback anywhere from anybody that's been talking about this. New Hampshire needs to be energy independent. Right now, we have the highest rates in the country. So you have 2 micronuclear power plants. Our extra energy we'll be able to sell to our neighbors, right?
I agree. I have, the reason I brought that up is I have some friends on the other side of the aisle that aren't a fan of it.
Oh, really?
Not necessarily from New Hampshire. I think it's unique to New Hampshire. I call issues like this, I think John Fetterman might have coined the term originally, but a political bazooka, in that both sides can kind of get behind it and just launch into it like a bazooka, because there's really no downside to it.
There isn't. It's the safest, it's the cleanest, it's the cheapest way to produce energy. There's nothing else, solar or wind, it doesn't even compare per kilowatt hour, the cost.
And what has Trump's platform on, how has Trump's platform on nuclear been different
He's pro-nuclear.
than Biden's?
Well, I don't think Biden was pro-nuclear. Trump is definitely pro-nuclear. He wants the business, he wants the industry, right? So, yeah.
So, yeah, I think that could be a good thing.
I think it's going to be a great thing. Yeah. You know, the second nuclear power plant, most of that has already been cleared. They've already paved the way for it. So a lot of the roadblocks, it could be done. It could be done in like 5 or 7 years if we really wanted to go after it. And I talked to Next Air. They're the ones that own Seabrook Nuclear Power Plant, and they want to do it. They're all about it. And the Department of Energy is willing to amortize over 25 years the cost of the project at a very, very cheap market rate. Only 0.3% over market. I don't know, that probably doesn't mean too much to you, but as far as numbers go, that's a very cheap way to borrow money in order to do the project. And, you know, like I said, the Department of Energy is all about it.
I think the Derry School District could have learned a lesson from that. But priority 2.
Priority 2. Well, we have our northern border. So we have 58 miles of border with Canada. So I talked to the Sheriff's Department, and this is what's going on that we know of. They're flying pallets, with a helicopter, flying pallets of pot across the border, the Canadian border, and landing it in New Hampshire. So those drug mules are taking that down through New Hampshire, down to Lawrence. It gets split up in Lawrence. Then it goes down to New York. And that's where they get the meth and the cocaine. Back to Lawrence, and then it's being trafficked back up through New Hampshire into Canada. And you're seeing all those deaths along that route. So I want to break that cycle. I want to get resources for the northern border. Right now, you could walk across. It's basically an open field. There's a part that's a lake. You could take a canoe into Canada if you really wanted to. And there's only a couple of resources off. I'm going up there October 4th. I'm going to be up in Berlin. I'm going to tour that northern border up there. But it's a real problem. And we don't know how much of a problem it really is because we don't have enough resources in order to properly maintain it up there. So we need at least a fence, some kind of monitoring, something, you know. In addition to the drugs, there's also human trafficking going on too, which is sad.
Yeah, I remember the northern border was, for a short time, a hot button issue
Right.
last year. Then it kind of went under the radar,
Yeah.
and it kind of came back when you announced that it would be one of your priorities.
Yeah, people don't realize just how bad it is up there. I mean, they're confiscating guns. I think they arrested like 120 something illegals. They've got like 1,500 grams of fentanyl. It's serious. It's a serious problem. It needs to be addressed.
And it impacts the drug issue in New Hampshire directly.
Absolutely, 100%. And they know it's the Dominican Republic cartel. They know who it is. But they're always 2 or 3 phone calls away from getting that person. So they're pursuing it, they're working on it, but they legitimately don't have the resources to properly stop it from happening. I want to break the cycle. I want to break the chain.
So what do you plan to do to break the cycle?
That's it. Just get more resources. Put more resources. If I can put up a fence, fantastic. If I could put up some kind of monitoring system, even better. But it's going to be boots on the ground. That's really what it has got to be. Even a drone, right? Drone that can see heat sinking, something like that. You're going to be able to see these people.
Yeah, well, thankfully we've had a good roadway in how to do that with Trump and the southern border.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, within a month he had it shut down.
Right. So I think we should do the same thing here. Absolutely.
Yeah.
58 miles. 58 miles of fence can't cost that much.
And number 3.
Number 3, we just actually came right from Manchester, and it was a biotech summit. So I want to see industry come into the state of New Hampshire. So we met with $9 billion companies today in Manchester. This is have you heard about the Dean Kamen stuff that he's doing? So they got a grant for $44 million. It's called ARMY. So it's tissue regenerative. So they're working towards, like, if you needed a body part, they're going to be able to grow that body part. Right? I met with a company called, I don't remember what it was called exactly, but they grow bone. And they're doing it right now. So if you break something in your foot, they can replace that bone in your foot. They're also doing regenerative cartilage. So say you're in your 50s and your knees are worn out, instead of getting a knee replacement, they can grow your own cartilage back in your body. And you won't have the discount. You don't have to go through surgery. This is top-notch, high-tech stuff. And New Hampshire can be that brain trust, right? Because we just changed the laws this year. That's why all these companies are coming to us. We're saying that if you have a terminal illness, if you know you only have 3 or 4 months to live, you have every right to pursue any means it is to try to keep yourself alive, right? You should be able to have access to all that stuff. That's the law that we changed. That's why all these companies are going to be coming here. And we're in such close proximity to Boston. So you have the best medical services in New England that you can go do your recovery. So you can take care of your services here, and then you can go down and you can recover down in Boston. It's just geographically very, very well located. And in talking to these people today, this industry, if it's brought to New Hampshire, is a $126 billion industry annually. That's more than the state spends. That's more than the state's budget.
Would bring a lot of jobs to New Hampshire.
It'll bring a ton of jobs. It'll bring high-tech jobs, good-paying jobs. It'll bring young people like you, good talent, fresh minds. That's what we need. We need the industry in New Hampshire.
And I believe that law that you passed, maybe a month or two ago, was named after Michael Yakubovich and John Lewicki.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've heard about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the Yakuboviches are friends of the show.
Okay. So that was 701. That was the bill, and we're actually part of our meeting today was talking about furthering that legislation. So, like, even if you're designated as terminal, for example, with the bone guy, he wants to expand it to like ongoing conditional discomfort, or like you're growing aging, right? Chronic illness or chronic disease or something like that. That opens up the scope of the people that they can treat. So it's come a long way. I think it's super exciting. 126, that's more than the GDP of the entire state of New Hampshire.
Do you believe there are other companies similar to this in other states that we can potentially get to come here?
Oh yeah, they're all down in Massachusetts and Cambridge right now. If we get that going up here, that's going to be a funnel. They're all going to come up here. The only other state that's conducive to this is Montana, and even their laws is not as attractive as New Hampshire's. Just being in the area where we are in New England, so you're going to be able to draw from Baltimore, you're going to be able to draw from New York. All these people, they want a chance to live, they want to pursue it. You should have the right to pursue it. And even when they're talking about these advances, say, a woman has a history of cancer in their family. The mother had breast cancer or ovarian cancer. They have preventative medicines now that if that's an illness or genetic thing that's in your family, you can be proactive about it. So maybe you don't get cancer. Maybe you don't have to have a hysterectomy or, that kind of stuff. It's amazing what they're doing. It's just mind-boggling.
Yeah, and we kind of touched on some state issues, and now we can move on to your record as a legislator. You're a 2-term legislator.
That's correct, yep. My first term I was on Commerce and Consumer Affairs, so we handled all the banking, insurance, and New Hampshire Liquor Commission legislation. And the second term, I'm the vice chair of housing for the state of New Hampshire. But I'm also on Ways and Means, so I'm having fun on Ways and Means. I'm a finance guy, so I'm a numbers guy. It's right up my alley.
Yeah, I'm on the school district budget committee for Derry. Well, fiscal advisory committee, I should
cool.
say. That's a long story. I believe we start our budget next month, so I'm excited for that. That'll be my second budget. But last year has been a very interesting year for the general court. We had pretty much a supermajority everywhere. We had a fun budget vote. I'm sure you remember it.
That was a grind.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was difficult. We had to cut 900 million out of the budget, so there was a lot of pain that had to go around. So it was felt throughout the whole state.
And no one was happy with it, but I think that's what made it good.
Usually that's how it goes. If nobody's happy with it, then it's probably the right bill. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a budget. It's never ever going to be perfect. There's no budget that's perfect. Everyone's going to be able to find something wrong with it, but the scope of it overall is good.
So you've been in the House for 3 years, going to be 4 soon.
Yeah, one time this election comes around. Next year.
What do you think your biggest wins have been as a representative?
I think 2 bills that really come to mind in particular. The first one was the bail reform that I was on in 2023. So that was the height of the opioid crisis in Manchester. That year when we passed that legislation, the deaths in Manchester went down over 500 people. So you're saving real lives. That's real impactful legislation. That really, really made a big difference, right, in people's lives. Again, the second one is another version of bail reform, where we're stopping the revolving door of criminals. The cash bail is done. You mess up, you're going to be in jail, and then you're going to sit in jail until you get in front of a judge. The cash bail is done. The revolving door is done. So you got these people that are like going out stabbing people, and then 20 minutes they're out again stabbing people and killing people. As of September 24th, that's going to be over.
So 1 week from today.
1 week from today, you are going to see some major changes around the cities and the towns, because law enforcement, we're it's kind of an odd thing to say, but we're basically taking their handcuffs off. They've been handcuffed. They're doing their job, and it's just a revolving thing. Now they're going to do the job and get something accomplished, get these people the treatment that they need.
Yeah, I was really happy when that passed. I think pretty much everyone was. The one issue, well, not issue, one question I heard about it was why it took a few months to go into effect.
The courts and the law enforcement agencies needed to get up to speed with the changes in the law and how to handle it and how everything's going to be processed. So it takes a little time in order to get through. It was actually 180 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a while. It took 6 months, but you want to get all your ducks lined up in a row and do it the right way. So
Yeah, and similarly, messed up my words a bit, to the criminal justice issue, we saw that magistrate Stephanie Johnson get removed.
yes.
After allowing a couple people that should not have gotten out to go free.
Well, that was that husband-wife murder up in Berlin. That's on her.
And the stabbing in Manchester.
Right. We tried at the State House to get rid of her, but we didn't have the votes to do it. So we tried before this, and unfortunately it took another awful incident to happen for people to wake up and get rid of her.
If she didn't resign, would impeachment have been on the table?
Yeah. Well, we tried impeaching. Like I said, we tried impeaching her, but we just didn't have the votes that day to do it. So I wish we had.
Yeah. And what do you think the next year is going to look like of the general court?
We have all 3 phases. So we got the governor's office, we have a supermajority in the Senate, and we have a comfortable majority now in the House.
And a supermajority executive council.
Yeah. So, we're in really good shape. As long as we continue to all get along, we're going to get a lot of good things done. We got parental rights finally passed this year. Now, that's something we've been working on for years and years and years. We finally had the votes to do it. And that's 85% of the parents in New Hampshire wanted parental rights. We finally got it done. We got universal EFAs. So every kid should have a choice to go to any school he wants. If a kid wants to be a welder, he should be able to go to a trade school and be a welder. If he wants to be an auto mechanic, fine, do that. Open up those doors. If they want to pursue nursing, try to give them some college credits towards their nursing, right? Like, have you ever been to Alvern?
I've driven by it.
Oh,
It's on the way to my
that
church.
That place is amazing. It's a farm. They have a big welding shop. They have an automotive shop there. They have a woodworking shop. It's impressive. And that's all trades. And not every kid wants to go to college, right? So
One thing I've always kind of wondered is why we don't have regional vocational schools like Massachusetts does. I think that's maybe one thing Massachusetts does better than New Hampshire at, is they prepare people for the trades more. And I
Yep.
think that's why we see a lot more carpenters and electricians and plumbers
yeah.
to our southern neighbors and not really New Hampshire.
Yeah. So hopefully the universal EFA is gonna change that. Those are good careers. Those are high paying jobs. Those aren't Those aren't bad jobs.
Yeah.
You can make a nice living doing that stuff, and especially if you enjoy doing it. Don't go to college and put yourself $250,000 and hack at the start of your life.
Yep. Not everyone's cut out for college. Not everyone needs to go to college.
That's right.
If you want to, you can, and there's definitely careers that we need people to do that require college.
Right.
But we're in this kind of stigmatized world where if you don't go to college, you're not going to be successful, and that's not true.
That is absolutely not true.
Yeah.
No. I mean, if you're a successful plumber, you could be working 20, 30 hours a week, and that's it, and you're making six figures, no problem.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a lot of opportunity out there, and we need people in the trades. It's hard to get an electrician or how to get a plumber. Those jobs are way out because we don't have the people doing it right now. So we got to train those people up.
Yeah, and one last little thing before we end, and I'm going to be talking about this with a couple future guests. We're having a big election in Manchester soon.
Yeah, we had the primary yesterday. That was interesting. So we made it through that. It was very low voter turnout, but there really wasn't much on the aldermanic, other than the aldermanic race. There wasn't much on the races going on. I think Jay Rui is going to have no problem sailing right through the election. He's very well liked, and he's done a great job in Manchester.
He has. I think he's universally loved in Manchester.
Yeah, he's a good
Almost.
guy, and he gets back to everybody right away. He'll take care. His attitude is, if it's important to you, then it's important to him, right? So it's a good attitude to have.
And it was good to see Joseph Kelly Lavasser and Will Infantine get through.
Yeah, it was great. I got some pictures with them yesterday, so I'm happy that they made it through.
In fact, later today, we kind of mentioned that the meeting got canceled because of what happened to Mr. Kirk, but Lavasser will face his, I guess, recall as chair tonight.
Yeah.
I'll be watching to see how that goes.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what transpires from that. I wish it was open, public, but it's not. It's going to be a closed-door session.
I think that's for a reason.
Yeah, I think that's wrong, but whatever.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting symbolism that last week they canceled a meeting because someone was killed. Someone went after Charlie Kirk for their beliefs, and they canceled a meeting where a bunch of people would have went after Joe Kelly for his beliefs.
Yeah, for free speech.
I find that ironic.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, so we got 5 minutes left, so whatever you want to talk about. Any other last issues we haven't covered that might be important?
No, just that we're going to be filing a lot of legislation. This week is our filing period up at the State House, so I'll be filing 5 bills myself. And then
Anything worth covering?
there's only one. There's one that I'll touch on that's kind of an interesting subject. It's called TPLF. It's third-party litigation financing. So say you have a lawsuit, we're allowing like hedge funds to come in and participate in those lawsuits. So they're financing the lawsuits with the sole purpose of making money on your settlement. So it's driving it towards litigation. So it's making we're labeled like a lawsuit infernal state because we have all the DCYF cases out there. There's over 1,400 cases that we know of. Those are all going to have to be handled. But when you're having nuclear verdicts of $20 million, $22 million, you're going to bankrupt the state. So we're not saying that they can't do it, but we want to know who the actors are. We want to know who's participating in it. And another side of that is we have foreign governments involving themselves in our lawsuits. So you're talking like China, you're talking like Russia. Why are they doing that? Because when they involve themselves in a lawsuit, they become part of discovery. They get to see everything that's going on in the case. So they get to see all that technical information or where everything's could be a secret or that kind of stuff. It's scary. So we have to put some guardrails on it, and we just have to have some transparency so we know who's doing it.
It's often those like between the lines issues that end up being important.
Yeah.
That you don't even realize.
You don't know about it, and it's happening right now. It's happening right now in the state. So I put the bill in last year. It made it through the House twice. It made it through the Senate. Then it went on committee conference and never got taken up in committee conference. So I'm submitting it again this week. But yeah, I mean everyone's for it. All the insurance companies, they want it. The only people that don't want it were the trial lawyers. And you know who hired? It was a firm out of New York that hired the lobbying company to try to sink the bill up in Concord. So that tells you a little something right there.
It is very interesting.
That's kind of odd, isn't it? That New York is worried about what we're doing up here in New Hampshire because they want to participate in these lawsuits in that fashion. And we want to know who it is.
Well, we are just about out of time, so any closing comments you have?
No, just I'm happy to be back with you, and this is fun. Glad you're having a lot of success with your show.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming back. And
Yeah.
good luck. So before we leave, I do want to give a big thank you to longtime friend of mine and friend of the show, Councilor Dave Granessi. He did resign last night. He is moving to Florida, I believe. We're gonna miss him here. He's been an excellent voice for the town. He's always been open to talking with everyone. He's always fought for what's right in Derry, especially in a time where Derry's having a lot of growth. We're having the new highway exit being built right down the road. We had all those issues with the school district in the last few years. He's been right there. He's been at every event. Everyone can talk to him, and it's going to be a big loss that we're losing Councilor Granessi, but I wish him luck, and I thank him. I've thanked him privately, but thank you, Councilor, for everything you've done for me. Learned a lot from you. And anything else I should cover, but yeah, the campaign season is about to heat up, so everyone needs to pay attention. Like you said, bills are being filed. Go look at what's being filed. See if there's anything you should pay special attention to.
Yep.
And as I always say, just watch. That's the best way you can get involved is watch.
Mm-hmm.
When you know what's going on, that's when you become an educated voter.
Sure.
That's when you get the confidence to maybe run for something if you feel compelled to.
Or if you see a piece of legislation that's important to you, you can always go and testify on it too.
You can. You can, written or in person.
That's right.
All right. Well, I'm Anthony Henry. This has been America's Ass. Thank you for watching.